Hi everyone, welcome to Amazon DynamoDB hands-on demo. I am Arujya Das. In this hands-on demo, we will see the prerequisites and the hands-on demo topics for which I will be doing the demo. For this demo, you need to have an AWS account and you can create a free tier account and you can find the account creation link in the description. Next, you need to have an IAM user with the required privileges to create DynamoDB and perform table, index operations, and so on. If it is difficult to spot out the specific privileges required, we can assign administrator access managed policy to the IAM user. For the hands-on demo, I will be doing demo on the following topics as DynamoDB table creation, CRUD operations, data retrieval, RCU and WCU configuration, creating indexes, querying data using PartiQL, time to live configuration, and finally delete the table that we have created for this demo. Now let's go to the AWS console and do the hands-on. I have signed into the my AWS account. Now let's go to the DynamoDB service and create the table. So here you can type DynamoDB, then the service will be displayed. Click on this and you will be redirected to the DynamoDB table screen. So here on the left side, click on tables, or here you can click this create table to create the table. For this, so I will have the table name as customer contact. I will enter the table name. Then the partition key. So as we talked in the theory part, let's give customer ID as the partition key. Then here you need to specify the data type. So I will put it as a string. Next, the sort key. So here for the sort key, I will put it as contact type. So this one also it will be a string. Next, for the table, we can have the default setting or customized settings. So I will go for the customized settings so that we will learn something more. So here the DynamoDB table class, whether you want to have a standard one or standard IA. That is, if you want to store only your data, you can go for the standard IA, and for the normal operations, you can select the DynamoDB standard. So I will go for the DynamoDB standard. Next, the capacity calculator. So here in the theory part, we saw the read consistency and write consistency. So here we can mention how much data size, item size you will be storing. So I will go for the default ones so that I don't incur more charge. So for the read consistency, as we said, we have eventually consistent, strongly consistent, and transactional. For the write consistency, there are only two parts. Next, here the read-write capacity mode. As we saw in the theory part, whether we want it on demand or provision. So on demand is a highly cost oriented. So this is automatically on demand means so automatically it will increase or decrease as per your load. The provision means so we will set a fixed amount of capacity. This is comes under the free tier. So I will go for the provisioned mode. And for the auto scaling part, so I don't want to do any auto scaling. So here you can say you can scale your table based on the minimum capacity and maximum capacity and target utilization. And all for the read capacity and write capacity, you can set accordingly. So, but here I will not go for the auto scaling. So I will put it as off. So other things I will leave it as default. And secondary indexes. So secondary indexes we will see later. Now let's go, and for the encryption we will go for the default ones. Then click on create a table to create the table. So you can see that the table is created. Now to do the CRUD operations, that is insert data, edit data, update data and delete operations, click this one and click explore items. So here we are in the customer contact table. Now click this create item to add data to it. So here for the partition key, I will put customer ID. So this will be the key, that is the customer ID, as we have already input. So it shows the partition key. So enter the value. For the contact type, I will put it as phone. Then we can add new attribute here. So I will go for again a new attribute as again as a string. So here I will put the item attribute name as contact details. Then enter the phone number. Then I will add another attribute, sorry. So here this also I will go for string. So valid flag I will put as Y. Then click create item. So you can see that the first item has been created with 4 attributes. I will add another item for the same customer. This time I will put contact type as email. So we have set the partition key and sort key. So the partition key and the sort key cannot be duplicated. Here if you see, the second item we are inserting is contact type is email, whereas the previous one is phone. So it's not duplicated. I will add new attribute string. This time again contact details. I will add the email. Then whether the email is valid, yes, string, create item. So we can see that we have added 2 items. Now let's create another item with a different value. So this time I am adding. So let's add again 500 and see whether it allows us or not. So here I am adding contact details. So I will add another attribute as valid flag, create item. So you can see that the conditional request failed. An item with a primary key you provided already exists because we have defined customer ID and contact type as composite primary key. So since the first record, that is this record, customer ID has the C500 and contact type as phone, it will not allow duplication. So let's change this one to 501. Now let's create, it will create. So we have created 3 records in the DynamoDB table. Now if you want to edit or update, you need to select a particular item, click this one and click edit. You will be able to modify. So for example, I want to change this phone number to 2. So click save, then it will save the record. If you want to click save and close to return to the value. So you can see that the item has changed. So here also you can click and edit the particular value. Now if you click this addition actions, we can create a duplicate item, delete item, or even download the selected item to a CSV file. Next, let's see how to do the data retrieval, that is retrieve data from the DynamoDB table. For this, we have this scan or query items. So click this one and you can see scan or query. So the difference between scan and query is scan will go for a full table scan, that is the whole table will be searched and the result will be retrieved. So here select a table or index. So we can scan a table or retrieve data from even from a index. Here if you click, so since we have only one table, select this table and select attribute projection. So here if you want, whether you want to select all the attributes or specific attributes. If you want to select only specific attributes, then you have to specify the attribute details here. So I will go for all attributes, then click run. So here it will retrieve all the data from the table. Now let's see about query. So here query, we can set the here select a table or index. The same way as a scan, we can select the data from a table or from a index. So here I will go for the table, then the all the attributes. Here you can mention the partition key value. Say here I want retrieve only C500 data. Next I want to further filter based on the sort key, that is contact type. So contact type we can mention the conditions equal to, less than, greater than, between, and so on. So I am putting equal to phone. So whether you can set sort descending or as a sort descending also. Now let's execute the query. So here based on this partition key and primary key, we can query the data. Now say I want to retrieve data from for the 501 customer ID. Okay. So based on this condition, the query will retrieve data. Next, let's see about the RCU and WCU. RCU means read capacity unit and WCU means write capacity unit. So we can set how many reads we will be doing and writes we will be doing by setting the RCU and WCU. For this, you need to go to this, click this additional settings. Then here we can read or write capacity and set this. For this, click this edit button. Here we can set the capacity details. So here you can see the capacity calculator. I think this one we already saw while creating the table, and here we can set even the details for this. So this can be done even after the table creation. So this capacity mode also can be changed from provision to on demand, from on demand to provision, even after the table creation. So for this demo, we will not be setting this RCU or WCU. Now let's create indexes. For this, go to the indexes tab. As I have already mentioned in the theory part, we can create the global secondary indexes for the table, and we cannot create a local secondary index because it can be created only during the table creation. For to create a global secondary index, click the create index button. Then here we can choose the customer ID. So here the difference between global secondary index and the local secondary index is, for the global secondary index, you can choose the partition key and second sort key different from the table's partition key and sort key. So here, so I am putting contact details as the partition key and valid flag as the sort key, and index name I am putting customer global IDX, and all other things I leave it as a default to 1 and click the create index button. So the, as you know, the advantage of index is to make the data retrieval faster. Now we can query even from the table or even from the index also to retrieve the data. So now let's go to see how to create a local secondary index. For this, as we have already created the customer contact table, we need to create another table to specify the secondary local secondary index. So go to the tables and click on create table. I will create another table. So table named vehicles. Here I will mention the partition IDs, vehicle ID. So data type as string, then model code, this also string, then customize setting. So I will go for the DynamoDB standard, and I will go for provision. For the auto scaling, I will set it to half, and okay, I will leave it as a default. This also off. So here we can see that secondary indexes. So here during the table creation, we can create both local and second global indexes. But once you create the table, you can create global index and not local index. Now let's create a local index. So the local index can be same as, so here I need to mention only, you see, you cannot set a sort key, partition key, different partition key. So you can set only the sort key. For this, I am setting the model code as the sort key. So here you can specify the index name, LSI, local secondary index. Now, so here attribute options, whether you want to set all or only keys or include options. So here I will leave it as a default and click create index. So as per the setting, you can see how much cost it will for a month. Now all other things I defaulted, leave it as a default and click on create table. So this may take a few seconds. Let's wait until the table gets created. We can insert data and see whether the secondary index is created properly or not. Yes, the table is created. You see here the index is 1 is shown. Now let's go to the vehicles table and add some items. Click this Explorer items, create item and vehicle ID CV100, model code E-1. Then if I want to add a new attribute, I can add say num string. Okay, I will add a date, manufacture date. So here also I shall leave it as a string, and for this 2022 12 01, enter the value and click create item. So you can see that the item has been created. Go to tables, click this table and click this indexes. You can see here that the secondary index has been created. Now let's query from the index. So click on this vehicles table, click on explore table items. Here query, here select a table or index. Click this one. You can click the index and enter the vehicle ID. So since we have only one data, so it will retrieve that data only. We can enter more items and check that the data is retrieved from the index. Now let's query the table using the PartiQL editor. So click on this PartiQL editor and the table list will be displayed here. So here click on these three dots, then you can execute which query you want. So here let me click on this query table and automatically it will populate you with the SQL query. So here for the partition key I will put E500, and for the short key I will put, now if you click run, so you can see the data for the customer ID C500 and contact type as phone. Now say I am changing the contact type as email and click this button run query. So you can see that the email contact type is retrieved. Using this PartiQL, you can run the SQL queries here and retrieve the data. Now let's do the TTL demo. So for this, we will create a new table and do the hands-on. So go to the tables, click create table, and I will put for this contracts table name as contracts, partition key contract ID, then for short key I will put as name, so both the data type will be string. Then I will click on the customize settings. So for the table class I will leave as it is. Then for the read capacity I will go for read and write capacity, I will go for provision. Then for the read capacity auto scaling off, write capacity auto scaling off. Then indexes, other things I leave as it is and create the table. So the table creation may take a few seconds. Let's wait until then. Yeah, the table has been created. Now let's go to the table and add some items. So for this, let's click explore table items and click create item button. So here I will add as C100, then name as this. Now I will add two more attributes. So here string, so contract date as 20250101 and add another attribute which will be the TTL attribute. So the TTL attribute should be the number attribute as we will be storing the epoch time. So for this select this and the attribute name is delete date. So to find out the epoch time, let's go to the epoch time converter. So type here epoch time converter, and here you can enter your date and get the number value. So for example, I want to expire this data in 2026 12:01 around 01 hour 00 minutes 00 seconds. I want to put it in a local time. Then click on this human date to timestamp. So you will get the epoch timestamp, that is on 2026 12:01. This data will be automatically removed or deleted from this DynamoDB table. So click on this create item. So the item is created. Now let's see how to set the TTL. Now go to the table details, click this view table details and go to the additional settings, or in the overview you can see here time to live is off. So we have to enable this time to live. We have to enable this time to live. For this, click on this additional settings, come down and you can see turn on. So click on this turn on and you need to give the attribute name. So I have said delete date as the TTL column. So enter delete date. Then if you want to preview, you can enter the value and check whether it is getting deleted or not. So I am enabling the TTL on this attribute. Based on this attribute's value, the whole item will be automatically deleted. Now click on this turn on TTL and the TTL for the item is set. Now go to explore table items. Say I want to add another item C101 here, add a new attribute contract date 20250101. Then I want to add the TTL call attribute. So for this delete date. So if you want set a different timestamp, you can set a different timestamp. So on the same date, I want to delete on 2 o'clock. So click on this, then you will get this epoch timestamp and input it here and click this create item. So this contract ID C101 and C100 will be removed automatically based on this epoch time, which is 1 hour difference. Now that's all for this tutorial. Now let's clean up the resources that we have created. So select all the tables and click delete button so that everything will be deleted. Delete all CloudWatch alarms for that you will selected yes. Confirm delete. So this may take a few seconds and wait for until the tables get deleted. That's all in this Amazon DynamoDB tutorial. Thank you very much for your patience in watching and learning. Finally, a simple request, please like, subscribe and share to your friends if you found this video useful. Once again, thank you very much.